Hey everybody, Timey Girl 7 here, and I'm going to be doing a little bit different today in today's vlog. Welcome to my Neverland. I started out Neverland thinking that I was going to focus mainly on the musical aspect and tie it in with songs that I'm singing. And I still may do some of that, but today is not about that. Today is all about what has helped to improve my quality of life, given the fact that I have severe fibromyalgia. Now, excuse me, just so you know, I'm so sorry, but you are literally sitting on my lap, so I hope you're comfy. I'm sorry for the wiggleness, but my laptop is not working properly. It's broken, and I can't move the screen, so the angle is stuck at a really bad angle. You don't want to see me from that angle. So I hold you on my lap, and so you're going to wiggle a little bit, especially with my lovely spasms. I'm not having the best day. Probably should move what I have my feet on because it's really not safe. Hold on one second. I'm going to move this little tiny table I'm leaning on and put a chair in instead. Be right back. All right, I think that's better. Safer at least, and if I push it, the chair will just end up in the pool, that's all. Okay, so I'm just going to get right into it, and honestly, I don't have all of the scientific details. They're easily found by searching on the web. I have another video here on my channel. If you look down in the Fibro section, or the medical information section on my page, you will find really the full breakdown of the scientific why it works. So I'm not going to talk in science talk. I'm going to talk in my talk. About 8 years ago, let's go back a little further. Sorry, you need to know what's gone on with me, so you know how much it's helped me, because I really think that I haven't heard of any cases, and I mean 0 cases, that this medication has not helped to improve the quality of life of the person who takes it if they have fibromyalgia. So if you don't have severe fibromyalgia, you might, I'm not going to promise anything, but I would hope that you could get a lot more of your life back than even I did. All right, we're going to go back to 1992. And we're going to talk about some sensitive subjects, but it has to be told, because if you don't know how it all started for me, then, you need to understand that, I'm guessing, right? I was married to a man who wasn't very nice. Let's just put it that way, to say the least. He was abusive, and I was with him for 9 years. Yeah, I was very young and very naive, and my self-esteem was extremely low. I thought that it was my fault. I thought that I brought this out in him. I thought a lot of things, which of course he reinforced and actually convinced me of a lot of it. But I got out safe and sound for the most part. But in 1992, we lived in a basement apartment that had a very thin, outdoor rug. And beneath that rug was nothing but cement. And I don't remember what I did to set him off, because I didn't need to do anything. I just didn't realize that at the time. And he basically, well, not basically, he beat me and was sitting on top of me and banging my head repeatedly into the cement floor until I passed out in front of our 2-year-old. Yes, I have 3 children with the man. It's my greatest regret is a mistake that I made at 17. So please don't beat me up for it, because I've done more than enough beating myself up for it. But in the course of him doing that, what I did not know, I knew I was in pain from that moment forward, but I did not know that what he did was he had damaged the nerves in my neck. And those nerves, over the course of 20 years, only on a couple of occasions did I take anything more than Advil for it. I didn't like taking medications whatsoever. It was not what I wanted to do. So I really only took it. I took some pain medications that actually a friend gave me, which I highly do not recommend ever anybody doing. But they helped, and they got what was my back going out to, instead of it being a week long of me being in bed, I was only in bed for 2 days, and then I was able to get back up into my life and work and feed my children. So it was really important, but it only happened a couple times, and I really didn't like doing it, so I stopped doing it and went back to my Advil and back to missing weeks of work sometimes. But over the course of 20 years, those nerves became hypersensitive. And one day I reached for something at work about 8 years ago, and my back went out. I have allergies really bad, by the way, here in Florida, and they make my throat very, very scratchy. I can't tell you how many times when I'm singing, I actually have to stop and start over again because all of a sudden my throat's all scratchy and you can hear it. Back to what we were talking about. Sorry about that. I tend to do that sometimes. So, in about 8 years ago, I reached for something at work, and when I went to reach for it, my back went out and it didn't go back in. And it was really bad. Like, I couldn't move. I couldn't go home. I couldn't do anything. I sat there working, doing my best. I couldn't reach up for anything. But I worked as an office manager for medical and dental offices in my career. I specialized in insurance claim processing. So, by the way, if you ever have an issue with insurance and you have a question, please feel free to ask because I will gladly share my knowledge with you. I have gotten claims paid that nobody thought would ever get paid. So, if you need some help, reach out. I will help. But I was reaching like up to hand patients, their credit cards and things like that, and I couldn't do that. I had somebody else in the office do it for me. And a week later, I couldn't take it anymore, and I got insurance, and I started going to the doctor, and there's a lot of testing involved, a whole lot of testing, and, I was tested for MS. I had a nerve conduction test, and that's how we discovered the nerve damage in my neck. That's Tucker back there, by the way. Sorry. And, eventually, after all of the testing was complete, it was discovered that not only did I have the really severe nerve damage, I mean, like when they did the test, the doctor puts a needle in your arm or wherever the damage is, and they measure it electrically. Your nerves give out electrical signals. And he was nowhere near where the nerve damage was, and it was registering pain. And he said, "Do you hear that? That's your pain. It's not in your head. You're not imagining it. It's really there, and that's bad because I'm not even near where the nerve is." So we knew at that point that my nerves were hypersensitive. But from there, eventually we figured out that it was severe fibromyalgia on top of it. And my doctor told me, you're going to have to start preparing yourself because you might have to stop working. And my response was, hell no, I'm not stopping working. I've worked all these years. I've pushed through for 20 years. I can do this. Don't worry. I'll just push through it. 6 months passed, and he said, I want you to stop working. And I said, no way. I can't. I'll push through. But neither one of us believed me at that point. It was more like I'll push through, sort of thing. And the truth of the matter was, I went to work, and my 1 hour commute became 2.5 hours because I had to keep stopping because I was in too much pain to drive. It was hell, to say the least. I should never have been working at that point, but I kept going because I'm stubborn and I did not want to give up my life. I was extremely active. I went to karaoke 3 to 4 times a week. I went hiking with my dogs on the Appalachian Trail. I went out with my boyfriend. We went dancing. I mean, I was an extremely active person. And I was working full time. One of my greatest regrets, I never wanted to be the mom that worked all the time, was never home with their kids. My mom had to do that. And I didn't want to do that with my kids. I wanted them to have me available to them whenever they needed me. It's not what happened. And I regret it. I wasn't there when my kids needed me on several occasions, and it really breaks my heart. But there's nothing I can do to change it, so I just have to move forward. That's what life's about, right? Do your best and move forward, and keep moving forward, and learn from it, and keep doing your best, because it's all you can do. Well, at this point, I kept pushing, because I was stubborn, and I didn't want to give up my life. And I don't blame myself, really, but it was not easy. I was fiercely independent because of my past. And this disease has made me extremely dependent, and it was very hard on me. I became very, very depressed, especially when I had to stop working. 6 months after he told me to stop and I didn't, I lost the ability to speak, like literally. If you don't take care of yourself and you have fibromyalgia, and of course it depends on the level and everything, because there's so many different levels of fibro. You could be like me and be completely disabled by it, or you can once in a while have a flare and be fine the next day. But it doesn't mean that we don't have fibro. It just means that it's different levels, and it is what it is. And if you're not familiar with fibro and you have someone in your life that you care about, do the research before opening your mouth, please, because all you're doing is doing more harm when you don't know what's going on and you don't believe your friend, or you think, oh, well, you could do more. I mean, I lost friendships, absolutely, with this disease. I found out who my true friends were and who were not. And I don't need drama in my life. That's not healthy for me either. So I did walk away from friendships. Literally, I just walked away. I couldn't do it anymore, and I didn't want the drama, and I didn't want the confrontation either. So I just walked away. You learn a lot when you're sick, a lot. And yes, life is very precious, and enjoy those moments. Make time for the things that you love and for the people that you love, because you never know when you might not be able to any longer. Now that I'm done with my little lecture, let me say this. At that point, I lost the ability to speak because I didn't take care of myself. And I was like a stroke victim, attempting to try to say something. I knew what I wanted to say, but I literally went, chart. I mean, like, it was bad. And that was the moment I knew I had no choice but to stop working. I went to the neurologist and they said, it's your fibro, honey. If you start taking care of yourself, your neurological symptoms will lessen. They're not going to go away, but they will lessen. And they have. Once in a while, you'll catch in one of my songs, I'll say the wrong word. I won't even know I'm doing it. And sometimes even when I hear it later, I don't realize it. It gets frustrating because it does make me have to sing the songs more than once before I put them out, because there are times where I will know it absolutely, and I'm like, that's not the word. Why did I say that word? I said to the dog one day, I'm like, restroom? Dog's like, what the hell are you talking about? I was asking the dog if they wanted to go O-U-T, and I literally said restroom. It's similar, but a dog doesn't know the difference, do they? You know, weird things like that happen all the time. So at this point now, I stop working and I stay home, and now I'm on pain medication because I am in so much pain. I can't even breathe. And all the pain is medication. The medications I take, there are a lot of them. I was on a lot more. But it's like, you ever see one of those books, the medical books that, especially like the pregnancy ones, they have layers. It's like a clear layer that the picture is painted on top of, and each layer that you remove shows a different layer of the body. Well, that's what fibro is like. It's layers of different pain. So some things I take, like my muscle relaxer, that deals with one level of pain. And then I'm taking Mobic, which is a anti-inflammatory, and that deals with my osteoarthritis in my spine. You know, and it's different layers. And for a while, I was on a lot of pain medication. And then I got breast cancer, and I knew immediately what it was. Thank God. I went to the doctor, and the doctor wasn't as responsive as they should have been. So I didn't even wait. I mean, it was a matter of just days, but for me, I wasn't waiting. And I reached out to Sloan Kettering. I went to a specialist there who referred me to a surgeon, but they weren't in network with my insurance. So I had to find a different surgeon, and the initial surgeon I found, she told me straight out that she never does a diagnostic test because it always shows something.